Kamala Harris, this is going to be difficult to say, is a woman. And to some, this is very offensive. How dare she? Right? Where does she get off? And one of those people that it seems the very identity of Kamala Harris is breaking the brain of is the boyfriend of Marjorie Taylor Greene, Brian Glenn, who posted a video that's bonkers. I'm going to play it for you. But here's the caption to give you a sense of what we're getting into. And then I have a few different examples of MAGA just melting over Kamala Harris, just existing. Quote, "The tale of two Kamalas. Is she now embracing her femininity with the thinking face? Has she now realized that she's a woman?" Breaking news on Real America's Voice. Apparently, there's something fishy. She dares to say she's both Indian and black? What? Excuse me? Pick one, according to MAGA. Or she is embracing. I don't even know what the point is here, honestly. I'll let him make it, and then I'll respond.
Further, and Amanda, I want you to weigh in on this because you are a woman and you identify as a woman. But if you look at Kamala Harris back during the...
Look, she's already uncomfortable. Sorry, starting over. I thought they were against identifying. You don't identify as a woman. You just are a woman. A woman's a woman's a woman's a woman.
Further, and Amanda, I want you to weigh in on this because you are a woman and you identify as a woman. But if you look at Kamala Harris back during the early days running with Joe Biden, she had a very watered down look to her. She wore a lot of neutral colors, a lot of grays, a lot of blacks, very few bright colored suits. And I'd even go as far as makeup. She didn't have a lot of makeup on and almost no jewelry at all. No rings, no necklaces, nothing. And I think that was on point. And that was at the time when kind of this whole gender bender type of campaign was going on, where they didn't really want to celebrate, I think, a female. Now, if you look at her now and look at her campaign speeches and some of the pictures that's pushed out on social media and the ones that they do to press conferences, it's a very different looking Kamala Harris. She very much embraces being a female. And I think that's trying to speak to suburban women who might have been turned off on President Trump for whatever reason, even though I think that's a complete fake narrative that suburban women don't like Trump. I think they very...
Why would they care that he's a civilly liable sexual abuser who is responsible for the overturning of women's rights?
Well, very much, I should say, love Trump due to a lot of the values in protecting schools and kids and law and order in cities. So I want to get your feedback. Do you see a physical change in Kamala Harris now as a candidate for president than you did as when she served as vice president?
Indulge me, would you? Can we really dissect this clip? Because it's one of the stranger things I've seen in a really long time. Have you seen a physical change? Stop. Do you not hear that coming out of your mouth and go, I'm weird? Let's talk about policy. What am I doing? Now, if Brian Glenn had the ability to ask himself that question, what am I doing with my life? He probably wouldn't be dating Marjorie Taylor Greene. But I had no interest. I had less than no interest. I had negative interest in going back and fact-checking what he's saying. Maybe Kamala Harris, because there's a happy tone to this campaign, is strategically wearing bolder colors. I have no idea. But I just searched up the first speech I could think of because he said all these different things about her appearance. From 2020, the campaign he's talking about, where she just looked so different. And I don't know if white is considered a bright color. Looks pretty bright to my eyes. But the funny thing is, again, it's strange to fact check this because it doesn't matter. But in this video, she both is wearing white, not gray or brown or black, as he listed off, but then also has jewelry on. So even the facts of what he's saying doesn't seem to be true.
Congressman John Lewis, before his passing, wrote, "Democracy is not a state, it is an act." And what he meant was that America's democracy. And then you.
And this is so dumb, but she's wearing bracelets. So he's not even correct about the change, but we shouldn't even go down that road because, again, it's weird. And I do love at the beginning him saying, you know, my co-anchor, you're a woman and you identify as a woman. The way that he says that is almost as if to say Kamala Harris is... Let me play this again. See if you know what I mean. There's something weird about what he's alluding to there.
Further, and Amanda, I want you to weigh in on this because you are a woman and you identify as a woman. But if you look at Kamala Harris back during the...
So previously she didn't embrace the fact that she's female, okay? They tried to hide that from the American public. They hid Biden's cognitive decline and they hid the fact that Kamala Harris was a woman, and then it jumped out at us, okay? You can't scare us like that. All of a sudden she's wearing bright colors, talking about hope and being a woman. Can we go back to that? What the heck? It's not fair. No, Trump is struggling with this a lot. I'll remind you of what he said at his most recent rally where we were, which was bizarre.
She's a beautiful woman. So I decided to go back and reread the clause. I'm not saying he's, but I say that I am much better looking than her. I think I'm much better looking. Much better. I'm a better looking person than Kamala.
I would not dare. Okay, I wouldn't. I wasn't born yesterday, so I know there's no benefit to going down the path that many people online have gone in showing the difference in appearance between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, because that's not beneficial to anyone, right? If we spend all this time talking about how Trump, when he doesn't have his makeup on and he's on the golf course, looks like a completely different person. And, okay, you get the point. We don't know to go down a road and fact check what Trump just said there, but it's so weird that's on his mind. And he keeps bringing up that on the Time magazine cover, Kamala Harris looks so beautiful, but it was an illustration. Why couldn't you do a picture? They had to sketch her out. She looked like Melania. He said she looked like Melania. It's so bizarre. And again, the part of this is we're having fun. Okay, we are. But I think more importantly, we're exploring what is a crumbling and a freakout, and thus a mental implosion of a lot of MAGA leaders, because they had figured out how to run against Biden, and somehow, for some reason, they're struggling to comprehend a race against Vice President Kamala Harris. What makes this more difficult is that Trump's running mate is not giving Trump any help. But don't worry, all the people saying, oh, J.D. Vance was a bad selection and nobody likes him. Trump supporters have come out in defense of J.D. Vance and are now carrying, some of them, at rallies, the J.D. Vance full family kit. And as you can see here, it's supposed to look like it's carrying in it the family making substance, I'll say, presumably from J.D. Vance. I feel like I'm weird saying that to you, but how could that possibly be? Because I'm just telling you what they're carrying at rallies. But somehow I just felt icked by having to tell you that. So that's cool, because they're very pro-family, except for when it comes to ever doing things on policy that are pro-family. And then you have Trump supporters switching out on the back of their truck a tied up Biden, which is what they previously had, to a tied up and duct taped and handcuffed Kamala Harris, where it's portrayed to look like Kamala Harris is tied up in the back of the truck. I find myself wanting to respond to this in ways that I don't think I would be proud of, you know? I don't want to stoop to a level that I feel would degrade my character. So I'll just say, that's bad. That's violence provoking. That's dangerous. And that's weird. Okay? Now, because I brought up Brian Glenn, I do want to check in on his girlfriend, Marjorie Taylor Greene. But actually, I can't go straight from the tied up craziness to this, because that'd be too much crazy all at once. So instead, let's take a little intermission with rationality. While she's being attacked for embracing her femininity, or that's noticeable to Brian Glenn in some bizarre way, while Trump is saying she is not black, I know people think he only said she turned black. Then he posted on social media her birth certificate, and the person he was reposting said she's not black. So she's not allowed to be a woman, or previously she wasn't allowed to hide that she was a woman according to them. And also she can't be both black and Indian. That's just no. But while all those attacks are being levied her way, the reason why her polls are shifting, I should say are surging, the polls are shifting, she is seeing a surge in the polls, is because while that's the garbage being thrown her way, she has a disciplined, unifying message. Here's the latest example.
Fight for it. And that's what this campaign is about. This campaign is about a recognition that, frankly, over the last several years, there's been this kind of perversion that has taken place, I think, which is to suggest that the measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you beat down, when what we know is the real and true measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you lift up. That's what we see as strength. We know what strength looks like. That's what strength looks like. Anybody who's about beating down other people is a coward. This is what strength looks like.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Now, do you guys have it in you to now talk about the second part of the Brian Glenn, Marjorie Taylor Greene partnership? She posted this, and I wanted to cover it. I guess it fits best in this segment because of Brian Glenn being a part of this. But she said, "This one is my favorite. I'm kind of like J.D. Vance's mama. They're loaded always, hidden at arm's reach, and only I know where they are. But you gotta practice knives too." And they're sporting a firearm. Which, listen, I've said before, we can implement better regulations. We should implement better regulations to keep people safe, make sure people understand the weapons they're handling. But I still have no problem with someone who just is into shooting guns as a thing. If it's a sport thing for you, you want to go to the range. But I do just have to. So please remember that, okay? I don't happen to be into, even though I've done it before, just sort of for the fun of it, shooting guns. But if you're doing it a safe way, have a blast. You're into hunting, have a blast. That doesn't get in the way of us also implementing common sense gun reform, is my point. But I always have been weirded out by stuff like this, because who's invading your house, Marjorie? How many times have you needed multiple guns in different parts of the house and knives too? I just don't know if ever you're going to come across a moment in your life where you'll need to be a G.I. Joe. But maybe you will. I don't know. If you're watching this and you're thinking, at least I don't hate him. Okay, I don't hate this show. You know I don't like it. Okay, but you don't hate it. I'd appreciate if you click that subscribe button and support the work we do in a free, easy, but impactful way. Back to the video. And then you have this from a recent Marjorie Taylor Greene event.
Democrats in Washington, that I worked with them, sit on committees with them, and I listened to them speak. And I learned something. When I ran for Congress, I said, Save America, stop socialism. But when I came back to ask you to re-elect me and send me back in 2022, I changed my campaign sign. And I've got him sitting back there.
So this is a big announcement she's making. She used to say, Save America, stop socialism. Breaking news, Marjorie Taylor Greene is rolling out a new branding element that's going to blow a hole in the political conversation. News cycle is going to be consumed by discussion of this.
And my campaign sign, starting in 2022, said, Save America, stop communism, right there.
A true... a true leader right there, you know. I mean, it takes courage, right? It takes a backbone to say to the communist regime that just insists on investing in infrastructure to facilitate better commerce in our capitalistic system, that insists on lowering prescription drug costs, that insists on expanding benefits for veterans. It takes courage to say to that communist regime, no, not in America, baby. We're not going to accept a child tax credit. Communism. We might as well be in China, okay? It's so absurd. Here's my big takeaway from that, by the way. If you're in the audience and you are observing her pandering to you, you know that's what that is, right? So now we're socialist already, I guess. That's why we're stopping communism now. But I do think that a couple things. The first is that you're being insulted. I think perfectly highly of your intelligence. Marjorie Taylor Greene clearly doesn't, right? She thinks disaster in there. If she's going to insult you like that, thinking that she can get your vote by saying something so ridiculous. Or her campaign ads, I'm Marjorie Greene, and we're going to stop socialism, and then blowing up a socialism sign. If that sort of behavior makes you think she's fighting for you and there's no mention of solutions to the problems in your lives, maybe she doesn't actually think that highly of you. She thinks she can pander, then do nothing for you while she's actually in a position of power and keep getting elected by telling you that she's going to stop socialism or communism now. But what she's talking about is not anything close to communism, but instead reasonable, common sense policies that would benefit your life. But you'll give up lower prescription drug costs. You'll give up a better healthcare system. You'll give up better roads, bridges, airports, broadband. You'll give up better benefits for our veterans, higher wages for workers, more rights in the workplace, because Marjorie Taylor Greene is going to stop those drag queens, right? It takes a low perception of you from her to think she can get away with that and continue to be elected into Congress. So prove her wrong, MAGA, and prove Trump wrong as well. And then the second thing, I guess, when I watch this, communism, Kamala Harris is communist. She calls her, in some of her posts, Comrade Kamala. Okay. I also think that it's pretty insulting to the horrific tragedies, the mass suffering that has been inflicted on people because of communist regimes. They are so uninterested in actually learning about, stuff, that they try to conflate policy differences in our current system of government that is not communist with communism, which has a history of absolute devastation, and the millions of lives that have suffered don't pop into Marjorie's mind when she makes a political comment like that. Let me know what you thought of all that. That was a lot in the comments. And if you want to support this show, you can do so by clicking the join button below.